Time for a rant on Creep. Yeah, this isn't the TLC song Creep. This is a Blumhouse series. I think it's a horror franchise. I guess it's horror, for lack of a better term. Blumhouse is associated with horror, but this is a film that was recommended to me by a follower, and basically I decided to watch it, and I'm glad I did. I thought this was a really interesting film. If you're not familiar with this film, Creep is, I think, a 2014 film. And it's about a guy who is, and just to let you know, this is one of those found footage movies. And I realize that the found footage movies, they have a reputation with them. Some are really good, but some are really hard to do because you have to stay within the confines of your storytelling mode. And I'm going to get into spoilers only on the first movie of Creep. Because yes, there is a sequel to this movie, which I am going to talk about. And the thing I'm not going to really talk about is apparently there's a Shudder service that has the Creep Diaries or the Creep Files or something, some series based on this. So yeah, this is crazy. So who's the Creep? Well, okay, let's get into this thing. All right, so the first Creep film starts off with a character who's driving to answer, I guess, a personal ad, maybe a Craigslist ad, not really sure. But essentially this guy wants him to film him. And when he gets to the door, there's not really anybody there, but and then the camera sort of pans down to an axe. Now remember, this is a found footage movie, so I'm going like, okay, that's a Chekhov's gun if I've ever seen one. And I'm going like, yeah, that's not going to be important later. Yeah, it's important later. Now, here's the deal. The guy walks in, he's got his camera rolling, and he sees this guy. And this guy's played by, I think his name is Mark Duplass or something like that. I've actually looked up his record. He's got quite a record in a lot of comedy things. And I get the feeling like he and the director of this film, who is the cameraman in this film, Patrick, I can't remember his name, but anyway, yeah, they're doing, they made probably the most simplest film possible. I think it has like a total of 3 actors in it. One of the actors does a voiceover. Seriously, played by the director's wife. Crazy. So, yeah, this guy says like, all right, here's what I want to do. I want to film my life because here's the thing. I have a wife and she's pregnant, and but I have cancer, and this, you know, so by the time the baby grows up, I will probably be dead. So I want to leave some sort of, I don't know, record of who I was. And he quotes a film called My Life, a film that I think has been very overlooked. If you've never heard of My Life, it's a film with Michael Keaton and Nicole Kidman in it. It's a really super good film. My wife actually introduced me to this film, and I'd never even heard of this film. It came out in the early 90s. And yeah, that film wasn't a found footage film, but I can see why he's referencing it, because it kind of feels like that's what they're going for. Maybe that's where he got the idea from and is being very unapologetic about it. Who knows? Anyway, so the first thing this guy does, who wants to be filmed, is he strips in front of him and goes into a bathtub. Apparently, this guy has some good memories of being with his dad in the tub, and it's disturbing as hell. And you realize, like, oh crap, this is what we're in for, isn't it? Yeah, that is definitely what we're in for. And there's this scene later on after where he says like, hey, can you go in the closet and help me get something? And there's like this wolf mask in there, but it looks like there's an actual wolf in this closet. And the way the shot is set up, it's like there's really no, I mean, yeah, that would scare you. And so these two go on a hike later on, and this guy's revealing all this cool stuff about himself. And this guy says like, yeah, there's this great spring that could apparently heal you. And they go to this spring, which is kind of shaped like a heart. I don't know where they got this location. And but it does look like, I think they were talking about that it came in a sewage line or something like that. I mean, they were talking about like, this is a sewage line, isn't it? But he finds that heart-shaped place. And, you know, they dip in together, and there's several things about this guy's story that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, you catch him a lot. Like, say, for example, like he takes him to a place for so they can have a meal, but he's looking at the menu, and it's like, wow, I've never really seen what they've got here. So there's holes in his story like all over the dang place. And so this guy who's the cameraman, he's smart. He knows there's something there. At one point in time in this film, the creep says, like, I need to tell you something. Can you shut the camera off? Now this guy plays it smart. He actually turns the camera off so it's a black screen so you can hear the audio of what he's saying. What he's saying is very messed up. And then the cameraman figures out a way to drug the guy. And he tries to make an escape. And he succeeds in making an escape, and then they kind of cut to him like in his house, and apparently the creep is starting to send in messages. And from here, okay, this is where I thought the film wasn't very good, because I thought, like, he says, like, I'm gonna have to go to the police, and you see him making the phone call to the police, and actually the police, from what you can tell, you can only hear one side of the conversation, that the police don't really believe him, and that makes a lot of sense. But here I'm going like, dude, you have footage. You just need to go to the police station and say, there's a man after me, this is what he looks like, get a still shot from the thing, and then do them over. For all I know, there might be some like poster on the wall saying like, have you seen this man? Because, that's where I'm gonna kind of get into a bit of spoilers, at least for the first film. The creep has done this before, okay? And basically at the end of the first Creep movie, we see that the creep is trying to essentially lure this guy out. In fact, the creep sends the cameraman another tape or another recording, and that basically says, I want you to meet me in a park here. Maybe we can structure this out. And the creep says, like, I really don't have any friends. I'm super lonely. And he must have a lot of money or something. He can afford to do all this stuff. I don't know. And when they meet in the park, the cameraman kind of just sits on a bench looking at a lake or something like that. And the creep puts on his wolf mask and kills him with an axe. And I went like, and there's a brief shot of somebody going to the camera. At first I thought like, and then I thought, oh, that's the creep guy who went in front of the camera. Because then the creep guy is actually talking to the camera once, the creep guy is talking to the camera now and basically saying like, yeah, you were a good guy and stuff like that. And then you look at he's got like a closet full of tapes and stuff like that with people's names on them. So you know the creep does this. He just finds somebody, he shares with them a story, and he just kind of makes this happen. Let's get into the sequel. I'm going to just talk about this, but I'm not going to get into how the sequel ends. But I think you could probably figure out maybe a few things once I tell you a few things. In Creep 2, the story is taken to another level, where the creep invites another person to film their life, but the creep is very forward about who he is, that he's a serial killer, and that he wants this film to be, I guess, his last film or something like that. And from there, the main character actually responds in ways that I don't really think were very sensical. But in this case, the cameraman is played by a different actor, this time an actress. And yeah, so some different stuff is going on here. The fact that they even have a Creep series shows that obviously, I'm assuming that an individual episode would be whatever the heck tapes you saw in his closet, just a randomly chosen tape on there. I don't know if that's one of those series that goes in a certain direction, has a story arc or whatever. I don't really know if this series has like an ending, a canonical ending per se. This is essentially a franchise, really. Now, I'm going to talk about this as far as my feelings on this as a whole, and I've already revealed spoilers. I liked this movie. I thought this was a good use of found footage, except for the issue with the police thing. I kind of thought like, okay, realistically, you would go to the police yourself. You wouldn't just call them and assume that everything, that was a dead end. I really feel like you would do that. But here's the thing. I get the feeling like you couldn't take the camera into the police office without them saying like, turn that camera off or you're not allowed to film here or something like that. That's the weakness of the found footage thing, is you have to stay within your confines. And they had to stay within those confines. So yeah. But hey, the found footage film format really works really well for this story they're trying to tell here, which I think is a really good story, and I really feel like, hey, maybe some guy like the Creep actually could exist. That's good horror right there. Anyway, this is Mark Rollins from the Geek Church, signing off.